Welcome everybody. Chris Otenmaker, BullsEye Telecom. I decided to class it up a little bit today and get out of the sweatpants. I won't tell you what I'm wearing below my waist, but at least from here, I look good, right, Jim?
That's right.
You look great too, and appreciate you joining us here today. We've got Jim McHale. We also have a special guest, Mike Balatis. And hopefully everybody can see our video coming through here right now. But again, Chris Otenmaker, welcome to our happy half hour. It took me about 5 weeks to say that perfectly. If you try to say it a whole bunch, it really doesn't flow. But hopefully you guys can continue to join us here as we continue to do these sessions. We're not promoting individual, solutions that we have available. We're not trying to push product down everybody's throats. We're just trying to inform our customers that are out there what's going on in the world, what's going on in the world of VoIP, what's new with COVID and how it affects telecommunications and remote workers. And today we're talking about cybersecurity. So special guest again, Michael's joining us here today. Last week, if you guys didn't join us, we have all of our recorded sessions, these webinars here, they're going to be posted on our bullseyetelecom.com homepage. If you go to the company section, there's all of our webinars are uploaded there. Last week we talked about SD-WAN and so what, I think was the topic. So Mark Nolan, one of Jim's colleagues, walked us through that last week, and really good session. These are only going to be about 20 minutes or so they're super simple. Grab a bite to eat, sit down, watch them if you have the time, and appreciate you joining us here today. Before we get started, just a little opening here. Again, hopefully everybody can see our video coming through here. Jim, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Michael. But really quick, just what's new in your world, and how are you guys handling with COVID? Outside of work. I know you have some puppies that came around that you were looking to offload here, and I've got a puppy, and I think somebody else does here soon as well. But what's going on? What's something that you want to share during this COVID time?
Oh, well, it's funny that you bring up the animals, because I think that's the neatest part for me. I'm a big dog person, and we've got tons of everybody sharing their animals out there, on LinkedIn, and you're seeing them on people's calls and video calls, and it's fun. I mean, it's good to see, forever it's been two parts of people. There's the home life, and then there's the business life, and you're starting to see a merger of that, and it's kind of cool. But yep, got 4 puppies, got 2 of them already taken and rehomed, and 2 other ones that look like they're going to get rehomed this weekend, and that'll be the end of the litter. But always good times with the puppies. So
good,
absolutely.
Good. How about you, Michael? You're joining us from Sterling Heights, Michigan. Thank you for joining us. And how are you and the family handling the COVID? I don't know what your family consists of, but what did you want to share with us?
Yeah, I have 2 kids, 11-year-old daughter and 15-year-old son, and we've been promising my daughter to get her a puppy. So we finally gave in. We've been dealing with a breeder, and this is just like perfect timing. We're all home, except that my wife and I are sleep deprived because we're keeping him in our room the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we're coping pretty well. I feel like I'm being a puppy dad and also a teacher, helping our kids with all their schoolwork. But yeah, it's great having a little puppy around. I grew up with dogs. I love dogs.
It seems like it's a puppy week here on the happy half hour, because tomorrow my wife and I are driving about 3 hours north of here to go pick up one that we were supposed to pick up about 4 weeks ago when all this stuff started. So we're going to be bringing one back, and can't wait. Yay. So looking forward to it. Should be great. Right.
Love it. Right.
But it's funny. So really quick, just for everybody else that's out there, if you're looking for some, if you will, feel good stuff, I talked about this, I think the first week. There's on YouTube, John Kransky and Some Good News. It's super cool. If you guys are looking for something that's, maybe 18 to 22 minutes long, you're looking for a little pick-me-up, he's got 5 episodes right now. It is super cool. It lightens up, your end of the day, your end of the week, especially today being a Friday. But really good stories that are coming out there about the good things that are going on out in the world. And the one that's related to our side topic today of puppies was they were showing a couple kennels, and all the kennel people were in the kennels because they don't have any dogs, because everybody's adopting dogs right now. So it was pretty interesting to see the adoption rates just going sky high. So all right, enough about that. Let's get into our subjects here. So Mike Balatzis and Jim McHale. What are we talking about, Jim?
All right, let's go ahead and advance the slide here one, and let's take a look at here what we've got on the agenda. All right, ransomware. Let's just talk about what is ransomware. Ransomware is basically, guys, a form of malware that is going to encrypt the victim's files and hold it ransom. I mean, literally going to say, hey, give me X amount of dollars through cryptocurrency, and I'll give you the keys to unlock your data again. And this has been out there for quite some time, but it's not a new thing. But a resurgence with the COVID out there, how do they say that? No good problem or issue, not to be reutilized to benefit somebody, and that's what they're doing right now. So, that's kind of the issue we're going to talk about today is ransomware. I think that Mike has got some data that he wants to share with us to give us some background and some understanding of it and put it in perspective, and then we'll ask some questions about it.
Great. So I'll get started. And James, I'll just tell you when to click on all right, good. Clicked on the first one. Awesome. So about towards the end of 2018, we commissioned, or there was a study commissioned of about 500 IT managers across the United States. And this study consisted of anywhere between 100 users and 5,000 users. So independent of what they were using, we didn't ask them what system they were using. So after we took the study, and it was totally anonymous, we saw the results, and they were staggering. The first one, 71% of organizations fell victim to a cyber attack towards the end of 2018 or all of 2018, so about a year ago. And what this means is something got through the defenses they had set up. If you can go to the next one. So what we also found out that 94% of these organizations were running up-to-date protection. So they're running up-to-date protection, and this shows that it's not that they didn't think about their defenses or their cybersecurity posture. It could have been that crooks or the malicious actors took advantages of maybe something misconfigured, or maybe some holes that they had in their cybersecurity posture. You can click on the next one. So something else we discovered, on average, it took about 12 hours for these IT teams to discover the threat. So anywhere between 1 to 12 hours, sometimes more than 12 hours. And what this shows us is the criminals, or the people that are trying to get this information, had up to 12 hours to be in someone's system. And 30% of these threats were found on servers. And we know servers are a gold mine. You get in a server, you can get through an entire organization. If you can get to the next one. Another staggering statistic was 45% of network traffic that came into organizations was unclassified. So they couldn't see, or the firewalls possibly couldn't see what these apps that were using bandwidth or that were coming onto their environment, what they were. So they were unclassified and unknown. Next one, please. Another staggering statistic, 28% of the time that IT teams spend on their IT environment, 28% of that was spent on cyber security. And the next one. So as we can see from this next figure, I'm sure this is something everyone grapples with, budgets. So 2/3 or 66% of the organizations that were surveyed noticed that they lacked budget to be able to perform proper cybersecurity measures and properly secure their environments. So as we can see from the stats, and I'm sure they're probably higher if we took a survey at the end of last year, that we face a pretty immense challenge here in the US and around the world. And if we continue to do the same, it's not going to get better. So it shows that as a cybersecurity system, when we're securing our environments, we have to constantly evolve and stay one step ahead of the threat. The malicious actors and the bad guys, they only need to be right 1% of the time. We have to be right 100% of the time.
Right. Well, that's some of the statistics around it. Tell me a little bit, like how does the ransomware, work? I mean, how does somebody get ransomware onto their computer where it's encrypted? How does that happen?
Very good question. So one of the most common ways we see that coming in is, yes, through email. Someone sends an email. It could be a phishing email. It could be a legit looking email in a document, in a malicious document. They click on it. It loads something like Emotet or TrickBot or some other ransomware on their system. And what that ransomware does, or what those programs do, is they may steal credentials. They'll escalate privileges that they steal from the system to run as an admin, possibly. They move laterally across the network. They can even take credentials or even get into Active Directory if it gets on the server, delete backups, disable protection, and then from there, and start to encrypt everything. And if they delete the backups and your protection's disabled, you're pretty much screwed. So most of the time it starts with email. Yeah.
And I hear once it's been penetrated, I've even heard where there's some of these that flash on your screen, change your background basically to tell you immediately, because they want you to know. I mean, they're using that intimidation to get you to pay quickly, is usually how it is. Is there any group or specific people that are targeted for ransomware, or is it just across the board that we're seeing this?
I'd like to say everyone's targeted, but there's usually certain organizations or industries that are targeting. Let's start, for example, for organizations that may have smaller security teams, like universities, educational institutions. They're usually a target. And of course, unless we're living under a rock, we've heard a lot of government institutions being targeted. Municipalities, cities, larger government entities have been targeted. Usually they have limited budgets and they don't spend as much time on cybersecurity as they have to. But they like to target organizations that are more quickly willing to pay the ransom. So they know who they're targeting, usually educational institutions. Unfortunately, with everything that's going on right now, we're seeing an increase in attempts to target even medical institutions with a COVID-19 crisis that we're facing.
I was reading articles that over in the UK, I think I was reading this earlier this week or last week, that the largest research over there that was working on for COVID research, that they had actually been hit and held for ransomware, and it's a big story over there this week that's going on. So this is absolutely huge targets, because it's a shame that they're taking advantage of this this crisis, taking opportunity. Bad guys absolutely are after it. Should somebody consider paying it? Is that the easiest thing, or should they reach out? I mean, what statistically is the best scenario? And do these guys, once you pay it, release the data typically? What are the numbers showing?
So the best advice in law enforcement, security experts will say it's best not to pay the ransom. So what happens if you pay the ransom? As soon as you pay the ransom, they know you're willing to pay the ransom. So you could easily be a target again. And there's no guarantee that they're going to release this data. And actually, your data may not even be encrypted. You may get a message showing you, hey, your stuff's encrypted. It may not be encrypted. That's when it's usually, it's best to act fast. Engage someone with cybersecurity experience, have them do an analysis. The last thing you want to do is pay, because while you pay, again, it just opens up the hole. It's like, hey, these guys are willing to pay. Let's go after them again.
Right. Makes sense. Makes total sense. And I guess the biggest question that me and other people are asking is, what are some stuff I can do to help prevent or at least minimize the risk being affected by that? It sounds like it probably starts with some kind of education that would be with my employees or people that are clicking on stuff, because somehow it's got to get on my network. It sounds like there has to be a manual person that is my weak link.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. Education is an important thing. Ransomware is about 30 years old. It started about 30 years ago, and it's obviously evolved since then. It was easier to detect, to clean. You didn't have to stop a lot of processes. Now there's an entire attack chain. So yes, education is the first key. Train users how to detect phishing, how to detect malicious emails that are coming in, but also protecting your systems. And it's sometimes not just enough to have endpoint security. You need endpoint security, but your entire cybersecurity system has to be synchronized, working with your firewall, working with your email protection. But that also includes education, like you said. You basically have to stop the entire attack chain. So if you just start one piece of it, these guys are smart. These programs are smart. They'll try to do something else. So it's important to stop the entire attack chain.
Got it. So it sounds like layered of information and security is really where it's at, layering it on at the education of the individual, the endpoint protection on the endpoints themselves, the laptops, and then at the firewall, all kind of communicating and working in conjunction.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is the most effective way to stop it.
Got it. Chris, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to, what was it back in, maybe it was for September 11th stuff, see something, say something. And, we received an email from our IT team that says, don't be afraid to send us things that you think are suspicious, and always, not always, but more and more treat things with a suspicious eye. We received an email from, we got a pretty good team here looking out for BullsEye, and we had some pretty staggering statistics, in regards to how we started, before we knew that we were being tested to where we are now, which is great, but it was pretty bad. Holy cow! But the point is that we'll get an email and it says new HR policy regarding COVID-19 paid time off, as an example. Looks legit, super, it's relevant, and a click of a button, and lo and behold, you got another thing you got to deal with. So getting creative, but super relevant right now. Like I think you said it yesterday, Jim. Taking advantage of this time. No, I don't remember the words you used exactly.
No crisis is ever not, best utilized, however you want to put it. But yeah, there's a crisis out there, so they're going to make sure they take benefit of it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, taking that time to think about it is probably, everybody here is the best defense. Each person, manning their email is the best defense. They're the first level of defense, and making sure that you bring those things to light. That's what we trained our people to do anyhow. So back to you, Jim.
Yeah, I think it's keeping it in the front of mind when it comes to that kind of training in that scenario, because realistically, let's admit it, everybody, we're in information overload. I know I get so many emails per day. We've got rules in place to filter emails so that we can sort in our industry. We all know how it is. And so you're clicking through stuff, trying to sort through what's important, what's not. You don't want to accidentally click on something. You want to be trained on looking at how, all those signs and things to look for. If that's a falsified layered email, something that isn't quite right, all these little things that you're educated on that helps that from happening. Is there any Q&A that we got in on any of the chat? I have not seen anything so far yet today, and maybe it's just a quieter crowd today.
I don't have anything yet, but I did have something that I jotted down here. So, Michael, can you maybe talk to us and, everybody here, obviously, what are some good sources for information about, what are trends, or maybe there's some, not everybody's going to be a part of industry events and, things that are going on, especially now. We're doing a lot of virtual stuff. In fact, we're hosting a client advisory board that's going to be virtual this year. So a lot of things going that route, but what are some good sources for information in regards to trends, what's developing, and things to look out for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sources out there. The one thing I would encourage, especially for companies large and small, is to partner with a good company. Now, I'm going to put a plug for you guys, like BullsEye. When you're partnering with a good company that has cybersecurity in front of mind, they can help you. There are a lot of good sources on LinkedIn. The company I work for, Sophos, puts out a lot of good information on something called naked security. I know it sounds kind of weird, but we talk to other industry experts, not just our own internal. There's good information on VirusTotal. So there are a lot of third-party information that you can find out, especially if you looked on LinkedIn. You still need to be careful of what you're looking at. Sometimes things look legitimate. If it's not from a company you know or a company in the industry, be very careful, because if you click on it, there you go again. You're putting yourself in harm's way. Again, partner with a good company like BullsEye, who can steer you in the right direction to help you where you can find that good information.
So it's maybe a follow-up, and okay, I'm kind of savvy. I'm the best person inside our household at iTunes, so I'm really good at technology. But just thinking about social media, if I'm on my work computer and I'm going through LinkedIn, as you mentioned, it's usually pretty safe to go through that stuff and at least do the initial clicks in regards to what references are loading, what videos are loading, and whatever. Where you go from there, that's on you. But usually all those initial social clicks through from a legitimate sign-in from their web page are usually safe, correct?
Usually, yes. Again, it all depends on the protection you have. So if you have a good protection in place on your endpoint and even on your mobile device, when you click on something, it should be scanning the web page you're looking at, or where you're trying to get the download from, or even looking in vulnerabilities within those plugins, or even the app you're trying to download, just to give you some additional protection.
These interjections of these pieces are on the actual code that you're clicking on when you get a web delivery into it. So, I mean, it is slick the way they can get in today.
Absolutely.
So that's why that endpoint protection on that desktop is so important. And there's even stuff that's a little bit more advanced that does some machine language and, learning around it. I mean, that is even slicker. So, I mean, the criminals are just getting smarter. That's the reality. They're doing the research, talking about LinkedIn. They're out on LinkedIn. They're watching. They're targeting. They know who they're going after a lot of the times. So,
gotcha.
Whole new world out there.
Michael, last minute or so, anything that you want to say? What's new at Sophos, or anything else that you want to talk about?
Yeah, we're constantly evolving. That's one of our, I would say, our tagline at Sophos, cybersecurity evolved, and kind of what I was talking before about disrupting the entire attack chain, endpoint working together with the firewall, everything looking at each other with your access points, with your mobile devices. We do have a managed threat response, and which will look at additional things, behavioral analysis, maybe a program trying to do something it shouldn't do. That's not necessarily a virus, but at least you would get an alert to see what it is. And we partner with BullsEye. We like to partner with very good companies and very good partner companies, but we try to stay ahead. We have to evolve, because if you don't evolve, companies that keep on doing things the same way they did them even a couple of years ago, they're not going to be around, and they're going to have more and more threats pass through, and it just won't be a good experience.
Awesome. All right, well, with that, we're going to wrap up. Again, big thanks for Michael joining us. Jim, awesome job. Especially a big thanks to our customers that are out there. We wouldn't be having these top-notch productions and delivery if it wasn't for all of our customers out there. So we appreciate you guys joining us. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit about MS Teams, and looking forward to that one too. Jim, did you have something?
I was just going to interject, and guys, any of my existing customers have questions out there, reach out to your CRMs, and the SEs can get, even deep dive or a deeper dive on it. Excuse me.
Awesome.
So,
all right. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.